We are live now. So for all the people who are waiting through YouTube, we will start in another 4 minutes. Hi, Yasmin. Hope you can hear us. You're on mute, Yasmin. Yasmin, can you hear us? Okay, you are speaking on mute. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay.
You can hear me too?
Yes, Yasmin. I can see you well. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we are waiting for others also to join.
Yes, we are live on YouTube as well.
Dr. Sandeep Singh. Hello, Dr. Sandeep Singh.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you.
We also have today Dr. Abhinav Dixit from AIIMS Jodhpur.
Okay.
Could also introduce you to
good afternoon.
Yeah, my colleague Shubhang. I think Dr. Sandeep, you have not met him before. He's co-leading the Innovation Center with me.
Okay.
Hello, Dr. Sandeep. How are you?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Very good to meet you here, sir.
Yeah, sure.
We also have Mr. Deepak Arora from AstraZeneca, who is knowledge partner in this collaboration with us.
Okay.
Hi, Dr. Sandeep. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How about you?
Very good, sir. Good to see you. Hi,
And,
Yasmin.
and we also have Yasmin from the Embassy of Sweden. Yasmin, Dr. Sandeep Singh is from AIIMS Delhi, the Biodesign Center at AIIMS Delhi.
Hello, sir. Good to
Hi.
hear your name, but I can't see you though right now.
Okay. No, you can see me now.
Yes, we
We
can
see
see you.
you. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. From AIIMS Jodhpur, we have.
Good afternoon.
Yes, that Dr. Abhinav Dixit from AIIMS Jodhpur.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Sir.
I think we have everyone. We're waiting for Siva from AstraZeneca. We'll just start in a while. Hi, Siva. Hope you can hear us? Hi, Siva. We can see you. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. We have everyone, so we can start the webinar right now. Thank you so much for joining in and welcome to the webinar on the Innovation Challenge of India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center. I'm Harika Garapati and I will be program managing the Innovation Center initiative, and I'll also be moderating the webinar today. Before we start the webinar, I would request everyone who are watching us through YouTube to post all your comments and questions on the YouTube comments box. We will address all your questions at the end of the webinar. Before we really like to thank all our outreach partners who has extended our support for this particular webinar. Specifically, we work with Spilani, ISB, Tides Business Incubator, IIT Roorkee, CCMB, Banaspati Vidyapath, Manipal University, IIT Madras are some of them who have supported us in extending the reach of this webinar as well as for the Innovation Challenge. We would really appreciate all your support and thank you so much for all the support that was extended for the Innovation Center. In this webinar today, we have speakers from all the three collaborators of India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, AIIMS Delhi, AIIMS Jodhpur, and Business Sweden, along with our core partners, AstraZeneca and Embassy of Sweden, who will talk about the need for the innovation in healthcare, as well as give an overview about the Innovation Challenge and the Innovation Center. Without any further delay, I would now request Ms. Yasmin Zaveri Roy, healthcare specialist, Embassy of Sweden in India, to welcome the audience and give the opening remarks. Over to you, Yasmin.
Can you hear me now? Is it audible?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, once again, I start. Thank you so much for inviting me for this to give some few opening remarks, and I welcome the speakers and the partners in this core group. Dr. Singh from AIIMS, Dr. Dixit, Dr. Siva, and from AstraZeneca, and my colleagues Amrit, Subhang, and Harika. First of all, this is on behalf of Team Sweden, and when I say Team Sweden, I mean the Embassy of Sweden, where I work. I work as a special advisor in the Trade and Economic Affairs section, and also Business Sweden, which is also a part of the Team Sweden, the Mumbai Consulate, and the Swedish Chamber of Commerce. We all comprise of Team Sweden, and on behalf of Team Sweden, it's interesting to see that a series of such webinars are being undertaken under this Innovation Center. But if I just take you a little bit from the India-Sweden perspective, we have a long history of cooperation, and it's almost a century-old cooperation in the health sector. And there's been a lot of exchanges of ideas and knowledge and technology, and though in many sectors, but healthcare has been really very active. The health cooperation between the two countries, which is under a MOU between India and Sweden signed in 2009, is one of the active collaborations, which you may have heard from many players also. The MOU, which completed 10 years last year in December, and during the state visit from the Royal State Visit from Sweden, the India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center was launched, and it was a major event for us because this is the first time that such an healthcare innovation center has come up under our collaboration. And further to it, our prime ministers, they have also reinforced this through the India-Sweden Innovation Partnership, wherein healthcare is an important component of this. While we all understand that technology development and innovation are key cornerstones for sustainable development, this challenge, which was announced last August in the presence of the Government of India's Health Secretary and the main collaborators, is a very exclusive collaboration, and which we are all very happy to talk more and more about it, which you will hear my colleagues talk more in details about it. But when innovation comes, we are happy also to note that under the Global Innovation Index, India now ranks 48, and Sweden is still holding on to its second position in this index. I do not want to take up much time for this, but I want to definitely congratulate the partners in AIIMS Delhi, AIIMS Jodhpur, the Swedish Trade Commissioner's Office with AstraZeneca. And a while back, Harika was giving names of so many people who have joined these collaborations as partners. And we am sure this page will not be enough when if we continue to do these, and your slides, you'll need 2 slides to include all the names in this. But it's all because of the good efforts of the collaborators and the way the collaboration is expanding. It's becoming extremely interesting. And I wish all the partners a very successful and innovative journey together in this endeavor. And this will directly, indirectly contribute to and enhance the strengthened India-Sweden health cooperation, which is there between India and Sweden. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasmin, for your kind words. And definitely, I hope seriously that Indian innovation ranking will be much better. And once we showcase a lot of innovations that are happening on ground. So thank you so much for that introduction. I would now request Amrit and Shubhang, who are leading the India Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, to give us an overview about the Complete Innovation Center and the benefits that the startups could get. Over to you, Amrit.
Thank you, Harika. It's indeed a pleasure that both me, Amrit Hinduja, and Shubhang Vikas, my colleague, are able to lead such a prestigious initiative, and we're happy to present it this webinar today. As Yasmin mentioned about the start, where we kind of sowed the seed of this collaboration, goes back to December 2019. Here you actually see a photograph of that kind of celebration, where we signed the collaboration between AIIMS Jodhpur, AIIMS Delhi, and Sweden, represented by the Swedish Trade Commissioner's Office. And many times when we reflect, to us, this is much more than just a photo. It actually is the commitment from both sides, both India and Sweden, with the ministers present, with both health secretaries present, the directors of both the AIIMS, all leading people, leading the policy and the delivery of healthcare in India, all in one room, committing to jointly work to this. So a photograph is worth a million words, but it's also worth a very high level of commitment, and that's how we kind of look at this today. And this is indeed a cross-country collaboration that we are trying to create, regardless of the indexes or something. I think a key important thing is this collaboration is both ways. It's for Sweden to learn from India, because India has excelled in many places when it comes to innovation, frugal innovation, the whole Jugaad concept. I think these are ways that countries like the European side can learn much more from India, as well as for us to see, can we take a leaf out of the experience of certain journeys in healthcare that other countries like Sweden has. So this is a very cross-learning experience that we are trying to create. While we do call this the India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, I would say it's more an ecosystem. The word center is kind of misleading in sometimes, but it's more an ecosystem that AIIMS, Jodhpur, Delhi, and us are trying to create. We will, for very natural reasons, have some sort of geographic centricity around the campuses of both these prestigious institutes, but with all other partners, we are trying to see how can we kind of have this as a pan-India activity, especially in the new normal. You don't need to physically be present anymore. I think we have discovered that. And therefore, the ecosystem approach is something that we're trying to create. I could also mention the approach that we have here is very much in line with something called the triple helix or the quadruple helix of how you work with innovation. And therefore, when one looks into our partnership, you will realize that we have tried to bring in both policy, academia, civil society, and companies and technology. And when all these come together, we feel you can best solve the healthcare challenges. And therefore, we have set about to have a vision and mission to kind of, which is aligned to the country's mission and vision for healthcare, to create affordable, accessible healthcare. Healthcare that can reach every geography of the country. Healthcare that can not just for the haves, but also for the haves not. And we hope that by working with both AIIMS Delhi, AIIMS Jodhpur, ICMR, the Ministry of Health on both sides, our idea is to kind of identify where can we take healthcare to the next level, where are the challenges, and then using this collaboration, solve those challenges. And today, we're happy through this event to talk to you later about actually the first innovation challenge, which is one of the mechanisms we have put in place to actually where we have identified a group of challenges and we will invite the startup ecosystem in India to actually apply and express interest to solve some of those challenges. With those few words, I invite my colleague Shubham to continue to walk us through the Innovation Center concept.
Thank you so much, Amrit, and good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to see everyone here on the speaker list and for folks who have joined us through YouTube. As has been rightly pointed out by Amrit, this particular program may be called an innovation center, but the real aim is to kind of create an open system of holistic innovation. And when we say holistic, and sorry, Harika, can you go to the pillar slide, if you will? And when we talk about holistic, as to why do we require holistic or the holisticity in these kind of innovation centers or innovation ecosystem, very often we realize that, when we look at the history of innovation, where a lot of corporates and companies, started with kind of R&D centers within their own organizations. And that worked for a certain time. And as scale and the challenges increased, there was a realization for these very corporates and R&D centers to tie up with academia. And again, that worked for a while and a lot of innovations came out. But again, this concept of innovation being very free-flowing was missing because everything was happening in a silo. You had a group of extremely talented innovators, sitting in a room, exchanging ideas, and probably coming up with a solution which was not properly scalable or not properly, broadcasted across the country or across the entire world. And now, when we talk about the India-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, this is truly a government-to-government innovation center, or a innovation ecosystem, where we not only have our core partners from the Indian ecosystem with AIIMS Jodhpur, AIIMS Delhi, Ministry of Health, but we also have Sweden, which has a lot of experience in performing innovation, enabling innovation, and driving innovation across sectors and including healthcare. So the final point is that if we want to achieve an impact in the healthcare delivery, and when I say impact, if we want to keep the patient at the center of a healthcare delivery system that we have and ensure that life becomes, in a very simplistic way, very simple for these very patients when they go to a hospital for a particular treatment across the continuum of care, that is where innovation should take place. That is the agenda that innovation should have, of making life simpler for the patients across India and even across the world. Now, with innovation in healthcare, of course, we will have a couple of therapy areas which are definitely a focus, right? We cannot innovate on everything. And also to give it a bit of direction, we refer to these 5 building blocks or pillars through which we intend to drive innovation to create an impact. First is protocols and processes, which we refer to as the continuum of care or the patient life cycle, from awareness, screening, the treatment itself, post-treatment follow-up, and rehabilitation. How can we make these protocols and processes much more effective, much more how can we add to these processes so that the administration of these protocols and processes become much more simpler for the medical practitioners themselves and for the receivers who are the patients. Second is technology. I think no innovation or new ways of working now can happen without some technology. So the end goal of this innovation ecosystem is not innovation of technology itself, meaning we are not here to improve AI or deep learning by itself, but it has to improve a certain kind of a treatment in a certain therapy area. So how do we use AI or machine learning, or how do we use IoT, or how do we kind of use all of these technologies in a telehealth platform to ensure that we add speed to this entire process of healthcare delivery? Third is business model. Again, with the use of technologies, it has become possible to reimagine the entire business model of healthcare delivery in India and across the globe. But for any reimagination to happen, there is a certain cost to what healthcare delivery is. So how can we innovate in business models to lessen the burden, lessen the cost burden on both the healthcare system, which includes the government and the hospitals and a lot of stakeholders? And finally, how can we ease the burden on the common man, on the patient himself or herself? Fourth is data. India produces a lot of data, copious amounts of data, but I don't think we have the right system yet to kind of capture the data, use the data, and disseminate the data in a very effective manner. So data is a bulwark of everything. When we talk about technology, we need to have data. So how we can better use data and utilize data to get to those results that we intend to. And additionally, through this innovation center, we intend to produce the right evidence based on verifiable data, so that any scale up of innovations that happen in this innovation center becomes more credible and therefore has a higher probability of success while scaling up across the entire ecosystem. And last but not the least, skilling and capacity building is a very essential part of our entire initiative. I think we can come up with the best of the innovative solutions, but unless and until we skill and we increase and we bolster the capability of the actual providers of healthcare, which are your medical practitioners, paramedics, and all other stakeholders, we won't be able to get the desired impact and the desired effect on the entire ecosystem. So these are the 5 pillars based on which we do intend to drive innovation across healthcare. Now, if we go on to who are our partners, as was mentioned a little earlier, Sweden works on a quadruple helix model. It's a very, very simple but a very common sense way of approaching on how to solve a problem. And innovation by itself, solves problems and challenges. So in that sense, from a government angle, we of course have Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, and Ministry of Health, Government of Sweden, who are our prime guides and strategic partners in this particular initiative. Apart from them, we have Invest India, Atal Innovation Mission, Indian Council of Medical Research, which is at the forefront of the current COVID fight, but also has a huge role to play when they define and update processes and protocols. And Startup India and Agni, which has a huge network among innovators and startups who we are proud to call our partners. The second category is academia, an extremely important category. We are proud to collaborate with both All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Jodhpur. Both of them, including with the Swedish Trade Commissioner's Office, are the prime collaborators for this particular initiative. And apart from just being strategic guides, I think both the institutes have through this collaboration, have opened up the doors in terms of providing the necessary infrastructure, mentorship, access to faculty, and real guidance on actually what are the actual challenges that India is facing today that needs to be solved. Knowledge and technology partners, with AstraZeneca being our primary knowledge partner in this, having immense experience of conducting innovation in these kind of collaborations across the globe, are very, very important from an industry perspective, and NASCOM. And last but not the least, I think the civil or the companies, strata of the quadruple helix is the startups. We have created this mechanism so that we can help startups right from the early stage to the scale-up stage to succeed. And, as it would be discussed by some of the other esteemed panelists, if any of the innovation challenges, are of interest to you, please do apply and please do kind of take advantage of this particular platform that we have created. So that's it from me. Over back to you, Harika.
Thank you so much, Ank. And yes, as you rightly mentioned, innovations are the core need of innovations is to make life simpler. In our case, the core need of innovation in healthcare is to make healthcare affordable and accessible to everyone. So yes, I would love to hear the applications from you, all the people who are watching us through YouTube. We're waiting for your applications. To invite our next speaker, for anyone who's there in the health tech space, healthcare space in India, they would definitely know about AIIMS Delhi and the role AIIMS Delhi plays in the healthcare ecosystem in India. We are very happy to say that AIIMS Delhi is one of our core collaborators for this particular platform. And today we have Professor Sandeep Singh, in charge of School of Biodesign and Professor in Cardiology, representing AIIMS Delhi. Will speak about medical technology and innovation in India and the need for medical technology innovations. Now I'd like to request Professor Sandeep Singh to speak about this. Over to you, Professor Sandeep.
Can you enable my?
I can hear you, Professor Sandeep. Yes.
Yeah. Can you enable my slides to be shared?
Yes, you can. You could share your slides. Yes.
Can you see my slides now?
Yes, Professor.
Okay.
It would be great if you could switch on your video as well, so that people.
So let me first speak. Thank you, Harika. Let me first thank Harika and Team Sweden and Team India. I have been asked to speak on Medtech innovations, the challenges and transformations specific to our scenario, that the Indian country. To begin with, it looks that I have to speak on two subheadings, that is the challenges and the transformations. But I must tell you that both these things are highly interlinked. Challenges leads on to opportunities, and opportunities actually transform. So basically, the challenges form the substrate for the transformation of a medtech innovation system. Slides are not moving forward.
Okay. The control is with you only, Professor Sandeep?
Yeah, it's there. But it has to move. I'll reshare again. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many times during these presentations, we are asked about a question: who and what do you need to make an inclusive and generous medtech innovation ecosystem in India? So this sound a very long and a tough question, but believe me, the answer is very, very simple, and that too in a one word, that is the collaboration. When I say collaboration, and that's what Amrit also told, the triple helix. So the key partners in a collaborative effort for a medtech innovation is the government, the industry, and the academia. Now, all these three have to work in a joint fashion to promote a medtech or a medtech innovation in the countries. The government has to provide a conducive environment for the growth of a medtech innovation. The industry has to move out of their company-centric approach to a more of a co-creation, and the academia has to start working more on a translational research in addition to their work on the theoretical and academic research. So if you see that these three triple helix, the academia, the industry, and the government has to really come out of their silos. Not only they have to collaborate in a bilateral fashion, but actually if you really see, they have to do a cross-cutting and talking to each other, so that you can see in the rightmost corner that there is a red portion, which is actually a cluster of a medtech innovation or a scientific cluster, which is formed by the collaboration of the university or the academia, the government, and the industry. So all three have to play a very, very important role in the development of a medtech ecosystem. The first challenge which we always face as a startup or as a fellow when they join our program is that what will happen to them in future. In India, we are skewed more towards the left side, as you can see on the slide. It's easy for us that the initial research goes up to a level of a prototype and initial product development. But the most difficult part is the later stages, that is the commercialization. Actually, the right-hand side where there is a deep canyon is actually the valley of death, which is told by many, that it is at this level that many of the innovations, they suffer a lot. If you really see, if I see it from the fueler point of view, that is who funds these particular projects, the initial part is usually taken care by the government and the public sector funding, but the later part and to commercialize a particular product. And that is where the first challenge lies. If you can see, if we compare it with the ecosystem of a developed country, you can see that the private firms in form of a venture firms and the venture capital, they get involved right at the beginning of the product development as compared to what we see late in the product development in a developing country. So this is the first challenge with which the fellows and the new startups they often face in our country. Once a particular fellow joined our program in the process of biodesign innovation and for a creation of a startup, we always tell them that innovation iceberg, if you see, is a very, very slow process. It's easy for us to move up to 2 or 3 years where we identify the need, we make preliminary prototype, we do some validation and make some initial product for benchtop testing. But the pain lies in the subsequent years, especially in the later part of the subsequent years when you have to fulfill the requirements of the regulatory, you have to fulfill all the quality assurances, and ultimately the product has to become commercialized. And so that's why we always say that the innovation process, everyone has to follow a process of 3 P's, which is the persistence, patience, and passion to take a product forward. If you see over here that in the initial part of the startup culture, there is a challenge in the form of a cash flow, which is always in the form of a negative. And that's why in a triple helix model, it's a very, very important for the other agencies, especially the government and the industry, to handhold these innovators so that they can easily traverse this path from the initial 2 to 3 years to the full commercialization of the product. Another challenge which is often faced is the quality controls and the regulation. So the program but we run has on a stage where there was absolutely no regulatory framework in the India to a fully developed medical device regulation act in India. So for a startup, it is very, very important to maintain the quality control, be it in a design control, be in the process of manufacturing, or in fact also in the post-marketing surveillance for a successful product which has to be launched, not only in India, but especially if someone is planning to launch it and export it and launch it in the developed country also. The government has supported us over the last so many years. The successive government has taken an initiative. If you can see that the innovation can be a game changer, as mentioned by our previous ex-former Prime Minister, to support to the startup culture and stand-up India culture as supported by our current Prime Minister. Now, the government has supported us in almost all the 4 phases or 4 pillars of a medtech ecosystem, be it a support to the innovation catalyst, these are the entrepreneurs and the small startups, be it in the form of a fueler by giving support in the form of a public sector funding and promotion of private investors. And most importantly, which is I feel that the game changer will be in the form of a quality assurance, quality control, ISO certification, and the regulatory framework which has developed in the country over the last 2 to 3 years. Ultimately, each and every product has to go to the consumer, and the consumer has to get satisfied. If the product doesn't reach up to the satisfaction of the physician or a patient, ultimately the product will die its natural death. So that's why this becomes very important to follow a particular process of product development. Besides this, what we always called as a 5th pillar of medtech ecosystem has been developed by or has been supported by our current government, that is the promotion to the indigenous manufacturing or promotion to our indigenous technologies. There are a lot of support which has been provided for the indigenous manufacturing, be it a alliance of public partner, private partnership, be it will be in the form of providing tax holidays, ease of export, bringing indigenous technology to the public procurement, and easing the laws of patent and IPR protection. Besides this, another transformation which has occurred over the last decade is by the government of India, by the Department of Science and Technology, by the Department of Biotechnology, by the Department of Health, by Indian Council of Medical Research, is the opening of these bio incubators. You can see at the bottom that there are so many bio incubators which are there, which help in the early phase of a product development and help in the commercialization of the product. You can see in the left side in the country that these special biotech parks are scattered throughout the country nowadays. In addition to that, there are specific programs which is promoting the medtech innovation. Right at the down south is a program in the Trivandrum named as TIMED. It could be a BPB program at Bangalore. It could be a Healthcare Technology Innovation Center, which is there in Madras. Be it the School of International Biodesign, the place which is stationed at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and the place which belongs to me. In addition, a new initiative which has been taken by the government of India is the creation of AMTZ, that is the Andhra Pradesh Manufacturing Technical Zone. Basically, it is a hub which will support all the manufacturing process, a word quality manufacturing process for all the new startups and for all the commercialization aspects of a particular startup. Let me give you an example of the School of International Biodesign, which is based at All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and it is supported and funded by the Department of Biotechnology. As you can see that our decade-long journey of this program, we have created some moderate success in the form of there are 7 technologies which are commercially available. We have trained around 130 to 140 innovators, and significant technologies have been transferred to third party or the startups formed by the fellows itself. If you see the right side, there are 2 technologies which are at the top 2. Actually, I'm proud to say that both the technologies are US FDA approved. In fact, the technology of fecal incontinence is very well supported in the USA. In fact, the sale is more in USA as compared to that in India. And that really speaks of the high quality which we have generated during this program. There are 12 medtech startups which have come out of this program also. Ultimately, the future, as Amrit was mentioning, was where we have to go. So the quadruple and the quintuple helix, which he was mentioning. So it's not only the government, the academic, or the industry which ropes in a helical fashion. There is so much to and fro communication which should occur, but ultimately the society, the civil society, also has to be roped in. And moving a point further, actually, it has to be the 5th phase or the 5th quintuple helix should be that we have to create an environment for the growth of the medtech innovation in India. I'm very happy that with the launch of this particular program, the Indo-Sweden Healthcare Innovation Center, which is being run under the aegis of Sweden Trade Office and Indian Institute and All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and AIIMS Jodhpur. I'm sure with the contribution from all these 3 and many such more events which are occurring in the country, we'll be able to make a new initiative as far as medtech innovation in the country is concerned. Thank you. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sandeep, and highlighting the importance of quadruple helix model and also extending it to environment also as a key player. Thank you so much for that, and also speaking about the medical technology and the key things that are happening within the medical technology innovation space. Thank you so much for that. The next speaker for us for this particular webinar is one of our other collaborator, AIIMS Jodhpur, who has been a front runner of the Complete Innovation Center initiative. So I would now request Dr. Abhinav Dikshit to speak about the themes for the Innovation Challenge and also how AIIMS Jodhpur and the complete ecosystem could help in faster scale up of the solutions that were designed by these startups. Over to you, Dr. Abhinav.
Good afternoon, everyone on the panel and those viewing us. And thank you, Harika, for this opportunity. I'll be talking about this innovation challenge and how the ecosystem at AIIMS Jodhpur could help the various innovators in this program. When we are talking of this innovation challenge, we are talking of the objective to have frugal innovations which make it accessible to everybody, even the last man standing. And therefore, once we're talking of this, the innovation challenge would obviously encompass 3 things, which is the continuum of care, the technology, and the therapy areas. And if we go into the depth of this innovation challenge, if I could have the next slide, please. We are talking of things in terms of continuum of care, starting from awareness, the awareness of health and of being well of the well-being with the in the masses. And this is where I'd like to say that the ecosystem at AIIMS Jodhpur can play an important role for the innovators. We are catering to a very large population in Western Rajasthan. Along with this, we are working with other ministries, including Ministry of Tribal Affairs, to create awareness about health and the awareness regarding the having good health, which is even more important in today's times. So right from finding solutions using various digital platforms or telehealth services to create an awareness, this innovation challenge can also help to identify those who have been aware and who then from this state of awareness need to be screened for certain diseases. And by screening, I mean that if we find in a population like here we have a large population and we have physicians and surgeons and doctors of various specialities who can help us and help the innovators in screening of population, devising strategies for screening. And this screening could also encompass using large data sets, and AIIMS Jodhpur takes pride in being one of the government setups which has been paperless and working on an entirely computerized patient management system from the first day of its operations. So because of this, we have a large data set which can help the innovators in working to develop solutions for mass screening of various diseases and further use AI and machine learning in this and other digital platforms to devise screening tools. Apart from this, where the ecosystem at AIIMS Jodhpur can help is in the diagnostics. Those who've been screened, if you want to develop devices which can help in a quicker, in a faster, in a easier way that can help even those in the rural setups. Our departments, right from preclinical to clinical, cater to wards to a variety of diseases. We have patients who belong to various regions of this part of Rajasthan and even adjoining states. And the diagnostic solutions, right from the point of ideation to their validation to the clinical testing, can all be done easily at AIIMS Jodhpur. We have a very robust ethics committee and a research cell for where the necessary clearances can be obtained by the innovators. And all of this, along with the large amount of patient data that we have and the patient population that we have, can help in actually validating the various solutions that the innovators plan to develop, whether it's a point of care device or whether it's any newer technology that they plan to either first develop as a prototype or wherein they have a prototype, they want to clinically validate it for further commercialization. And lastly, treatment. Being a tertiary care hospital and a premier medical institute, the innovators can work with our doctors in various specialities for various treatment modalities. Though this innovation challenge currently is focusing, but it is not limited to cardiology, oncology, and metabolic health. We would be the ideal environment wherein the innovators can work with the faculty at this institute. We have a strength of around 180 faculty members who can mentor them right from the point of ideation to a prototype designing to a validation, and with the ecosystem of AIIMS Jodhpur and its collaboration with IIT Jodhpur here and the large cluster of industries here to the point of commercialization. And in this context, I would like to give a very small example of something which me and my colleagues, we are a multidisciplinary team involving myself, along with faculty members from Department of Anatomy, Dr. Shilpi, Dr. Amit from ENT, and Dr. Shilpa from anesthesiology. We developed a product to decrease the exposure of our colleagues while intubation and doing tracheostomy during these COVID times, because aerosol generation takes place. And from that point of ideation, we were able to partner with the industry with an industry here in Jodhpur, to the point that that simple prototype got converted into a product and was then is undergoing currently a validation here at AIIMS Jodhpur and has been commercialized. So this is the kind of ecosystem which AIIMS Jodhpur provides to everybody, including its faculty, and the faculty can help even other people who are working in other areas to join us and work from the point of the concept to real prototype designing, to validation, and to final commercialization. So this is the kind of ecosystem that AIIMS Jodhpur will be able to provide to everybody. And I look forward to this innovation challenge being a point where people do take interest and find solutions which are actually cheap for the Indian population. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abhinav, for highlighting how AIIMS Jodhpur could even support and across all the life cycle of the patient, and how the innovations could be supported even from an early stage to late stage startups. So thank you so much for highlighting it. Our next speaker for the webinar today is from our core knowledge partner, AstraZeneca, who has been supporting us right from day one for the Complete Innovation Center. Technology being one of the key pillar for this Complete Innovation Challenge, we have Mr. Siva Padmanabhan, head the Global Technology Center, AstraZeneca, who will speak about the problem statement and the benefits that the startup could get out of it. Over to you, Siva.
Thank you, Harika. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to talk a bit about some of the problem statements that participants in this challenge could look at.
I'm sorry, Siva, can you switch on your video, please? Yes.
My video is on. Can you see me?
Yes, right now, yes.
Okay. All right. So as I said, I'll talk a bit about some of the problem statements that we could potentially look at addressing through this innovation challenge. Again, this is just to give you some of the contours and not necessarily limit you, but to give you some of the contours of what could be very relevant. So as we all heard earlier in the session, really we are trying to address some of the key public health challenges in India. It's one of those countries with a very high disease burden, right? Especially around non-communicable diseases. So that's really some of the underlying themes of what we're trying to address with this challenge. For example, diseases such as diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, renal diseases, chronic respiratory diseases, and cancers. So those are some of the areas where there's a very high burden, and we are trying to address, through the challenge. Now, again, while we look at, I think we heard really good sessions today around the continuum of care and how we need to look at the entire disease life cycle. So we're looking definitely for solutions that are using data and AI-based approaches, especially as we get into early diagnosis. So can we help our physicians to diagnose disease earlier? For example, tumor differentiation, differential diagnosis of lung lesions, and also things like predictive algorithms for early detection of heart disease or chronic kidney diseases. So the whole emphasis there is, again, faster decision-making and timely interventions. So can we get ahead of the curve and actually detect these diseases earlier? So that's one area of focus in the problem statements. Patient-friendly devices is another area we are looking at. So this is really in terms of, we all know the lopsided way in which our doctor population and our patient population is distributed between urban areas and rural areas. So more and more we are having to rely on remote and virtual consulting of patients. So things like enabling not just consultation, but also even remote diagnosis, or basic examination of remote examination of patients, such as auscultation of heart and breathe sounds, SpO2 measurements, BP measurements, things that will enable our physicians to actually consult with the patients, but also examine them. So that's an area we're definitely looking at. And again, in a similar vein, remote monitoring, right? As patients do have these type of conditions, such as ACS or heart failure patients or oncology patients, after an intervention, after therapy, how do we monitor them? And today, there's a whole range of solutions available in non-invasive type of wearable solutions, etc., that can help to monitor our patients remotely. So that's definitely an area of interest. The other piece that we talked about in the whole continuum is awareness, right? So awareness is so crucial because it really helps us to focus our resources much better and prevention rather than cure, right? So basically, what kind of digital solutions that will enable us to have a faster outreach on our education and awareness activities, especially to like vulnerable sections or people that are prone to such diseases. as well as not just the patients, but also how do we build that awareness, knowledge and skill amongst our physicians and paramedics in a remote way, in a remote way, so that we don't have to necessarily bring everyone together in the same place for that kind of awareness and knowledge sharing. So that's definitely something that's of huge interest. And something that goes without saying, I think we had that covered earlier in the session, is data. So data is becoming so central to everything we do, especially with the emergence of the national digital health stack, electronic health records, etc. And really, what's really limiting that continuum of care to work in a very seamless way today is because data is fractured. Data is not seamlessly integrated across the different layers of that spectrum. So definitely looking at tools that simplify that data capture, simplify the ability to share and transfer that data across multiple partners and players in the ecosystem, that's definitely something of interest. For example, remote access of patient records, diagnostic reports, etc., mining of the data that's there in the health records to understand trends and to facilitate research at the end of the day. And the other area around data is how do we analyze the decision analytics and predictive algorithms is a big focus as well, right? So that really helps us to get ahead of the game in this context. And again, I think some of the presenters already covered that we do want these solutions to be sufficiently frugal, because look, in India, it's all about ability to scale, right? It's not just about very limited application in a very high tech or high support setting, but really in low resource, low bandwidth type of settings, being robust, being frugal, affordable. That's also going to be a very important consideration for all these different solutions that will come in. The India-Sweden innovationchallenge.com, India-Sweden IC.com site has more information if you do want to look at some more details of these problem statements. So with that, let me switch over to talk about some of the benefits for the startups. So for the community that's watching, that's looking at participating in this challenge, we do want to spend a couple of minutes on what sort of benefits are there in working with this ecosystem, right? So the endeavor here has always been to for the startups to be able to showcase their capabilities, not just in India, but even in a global setting. So the presence of the Sweden, the healthcare partners here, as well as companies like AstraZeneca and so on, will really help to actually take this much more globally. So, for example, one of the winners of the last year's challenge is presently part of a project that's spanning 10 countries. Another one has set up operations successfully outside India. So these are some of the examples of where you can really be looking at a global way for your outreach. And also, there's a whole range of things we are doing to help startups, even more compared to last year. So some of the things I want to spend a couple of minutes on. One is mentorship. So as we go through this journey, as we heard a little bit earlier, it's really important to be able to traverse those highs and lows in this whole journey, and that comes from us having a diverse and strong set of mentors, including industry leaders, investors, academicians, doctors, etc., not just in India but around the world. So the mentorship opportunity is really an important ingredient of the benefits that are coming in here. And then the other is funding. Of course, that is a big piece for any startup to be able to scale up. So the Innovation Center, we have onboarded multiple venture capitalists and private equity firms to provide access to the successful startups for the funds. Very importantly, the ability to showcase your solution. So you might have a brilliant solution. If the right people don't see, the right stakeholders don't see it and engage with it, it's not going to go very far, right? So the ability to showcase to the right stakeholders, that's a make or break in the life journey of many of these startups. So the platform will actually enable you to showcase a solution to various relevant healthcare industry professionals. You can just see today the speakers that were from various walks of this whole ecosystem, right? Which is a great evidence of how many different types of stakeholders are involved and can can be available to be showcased too. Incubation, I think we already had a bit of information there from the previous speaker about the AIIMS Jodhpur campus and the incubation facility that's in there. It's invaluable, right? Live patient environment, the hospital, the laboratories that are available, and also IIT Jodhpur's campus also available to develop products further. So the incubation facility, in addition, also NASCOM's in healthcare incubation facility in Bangalore is also available to the successful participants. And again, I talked already about global outreach. So networking outside of India, that's quite possible. There are innovation hubs in different parts of the world that the sponsors are connected to, that they would be able to connect the companies to. And again, at the end of the day, networking. The number of occasions that come up, and seminars and other events that are organized to network with industry leaders, policymakers, very important in healthcare, right? A lot of the innovation is linked to the policy innovation and not just tech innovation or product innovation. So to be able to link to those policymakers, investors, other stakeholders. So there's a lot of events that happen to enable that for the startups that are successful in this challenge. So with that, I think hopefully I gave you a sense of some of the problem statements that you could potentially be looking at, and also some of the benefits. And with that, I'd like to turn this back over to Harika.
Thank you so much, Siva, for beautifully articulating the benefits and as well as the problem statements of the innovation challenge. And hopefully we'll receive a good number of applications from the audience as well right now. The other important aspect is with respect to the timelines. We have launched our innovation challenge in the last month, and we are open for applications till 27th September, which is end of this month. But I would urge all of you to apply to the innovation challenge as soon as possible, instead of waiting for the last minute to avoid any technical glitches. All the applications will go through a rigorous evaluation process, and the winners will be announced at the end of October, somewhere on 25th of October. That's it from our side that we wanted to cover through this webinar. We are now open for questions. We have already received some questions from the audience. For others, please post all your questions in the comments box. We will address all your questions now. Also, for any further details about the Innovation Challenge and Innovation Center, please do visit our website to get more details. Okay, now I'll take some questions from the audience. This question I will divert it to Dr. Abhinav to start with. What is the infrastructure to validate or assessment of new health technologies before they are implemented in a community setting? Post that, I would request Deepak or Siva to address also.
Yeah, right now here at AIIMS Jodhpur, we've got various labs and we've got various departments where you have, if you made a prototype, you can contact the faculty, they will mentor you. And after all the proper clearances, they will be able to help you in validating the product. So whether it's ranging from something made in the lab, whether it's related to physiology or biochemistry or pathology, or something related to entirely a clinical patient-centric setting, that is very much feasible here at AIIMS Jodhpur.
I think Sir has alluded very well. I don't have to add anything. One of the benefits which Shiva was showing was actually that you have a prototype, you have an innovation, and then you have a place where we can put the real world experience to see how it's getting impacted actually in the real world. So that's the biggest benefit we have with the AIIMS Jodhpur application.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abhinav and Deepak as well. The second question that we have is, can an idea be submitted to the innovation challenge? One common question that we get. Amrit, Shubhang, Amrit, do you want to take this?
Sure. Thank you for that. Of course, we are inviting ideas or solutions to the innovation challenge. However, the scope in which you can actually grow and kind of gain maximum from our platform would also need that the idea should have a substantial founding. or should be researched and should be strong enough and not just an idea. Therefore, our general advice is that in order to kind of get maximum benefit from what we are offering, you should at least be somewhere at like a prototype stage, so that we can then support you henceforth.
Anything to add, Deepak?
No, let's move on.
Okay. The other question, I think something similar to the question earlier, was what degree of completion of MVP or product is the expectation of the challenge? I think the question was just answered. We are open to ideas as well, but it would be great if you could create a prototype out of it and then submit it. But yeah, it's open to ideas as well. But the other question that we have is the challenge open to solutions in the mental health care space as well? Deepak, do you want to take this?
I think Dr. Abhinav or Dr. Sandeep will be the best one to help us on that. But surely, I think when we look at the problem statements, we are looking at not only NCDs, but anything which we can break in terms of this whole diagnostic problems, or even the treatment or adherence problem, whether it's with mental health or whether it's with any of the NCDs, will be a big one. It all depends upon how the ideation is, on what scale and what timelines it is, or what phase it is, so that we can really look into that ideation to implementation phase. Dr. Abhinav, and anyone from AIIMS Jodhpur or AIIMS Delhi, if you want to lead on that, will be
Yeah,
very
I
happy.
think Deepak has mentioned it quite correctly. The ideas are welcome from all the fields, though we are having thrust areas as being cardiology, oncology, or metabolic, but they are not, I would say, limited to those areas. We are free for ideas even in other fields.
So it will depend upon the quality of the idea and the quality of the prototype they have made. If it's worth taking it forward, why not? I mean, it has to move forward. If the quality of the thought process is so much, it will compel us to take it forward.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just to add, like, so the person who questioned, so one of a challenge statement says that, solutions to create and or use real world data for patient outcome analysis, right? This is quite generic as well, but quite data driven. If that is the focus of your product or solution within mental health, please absolutely feel free to apply.
Okay, there's one question both to AIIMS Delhi and Jodhpur could you shed some light on some projects within AIIMS Jodhpur and Delhi where AI or machine learning has been used extensively? Dr. Sandeep, would you like to start?
Yeah, this AI-based products of late for the last 1 to 2 years have taken. I mean, we have taken a good initiative in those projects. In fact, one of the project which is currently ongoing and it's in a stage of advanced prototype is transmission of pathological slides and the data from one center to another, and using AI to give an answers to that particular problem. It is in an early stage. I will not be able to reveal much about that due to certain confidentialities. But yes, of late, for the last 1 to 2 years, many of our students and the faculty are very much interested in going for AI-based solutions to particular problems in the field of medtech.
Thanks, Dr. Sandeep. Dr. Abhinav. Yeah, carry on.
Here also many people are working with IIT Jodhpur, but obviously I'll not be sharing the details because of the IPR issues being involved. So yes, a lot of faculty members here at AIIMS Jodhpur are collaborating with IIT Jodhpur, and a lot of work is being done on AI and machine learning.
Thank you so much. And one last question that we have is the timelines. What is the timelines of this particular challenge? We just mentioned about it. The last day to apply for the innovation challenge is 27th September. The challenge is live on the website that was shared in the screen now. Please do visit the website and reach out to us in case of any queries that you will be having while applying to the innovation challenge. We'll be happy to address all your questions. Those are the questions for now. So if you have any further questions, please do reach out to us in the credentials that are shared on the screen. and we'll be happy to take your questions, and we'll look forward for all your applications. Thank you so much, all the speakers, for joining in, and thank you so much for all our outreach partners for organizing this particular webinar. Before we end the session, I would request all the speakers to stay on for a moment. We'll take a quick screen grab, and we could end the webinar. I request everyone to turn on their videos, please.